All right, hello everyone. Welcome in. This past NFL draft, the Minnesota Vikings did in fact draft a quarterback in the third round. They selected Kellen Mond out of Texas A&M. And ever since then, I think we can all agree that we have all assumed that eventually he was going to take over official backup duties as quarterback 2 behind Kirk Cousins at some point this season. And I think some of us also believe that he could potentially be the quarterback of the future beyond 2021. However, so far, this offseason, organized team activities, today was the end of the first day of mandatory minicamp. It seems like Jake Browning is making quite a name for himself as a potential candidate to actually beat out Kellen Mond for the quarterback 2 job behind Kirk Cousins. So there's been reporters on the ground that are attending these events, OTAs and mandatory minicamp, that have eyes on the field, that have had some good things to say about Jake Browning, and it sounds like he's having a good offseason. So this raises the question, this raises the debate. This is kind of an ask the audience topic. How would you feel if the official depth charts rolled out at the end of preseason, right? We're getting ready for the Bengals. It's almost week 1. Here's the official depth chart. We know Kirk Cousins is quarterback 1. We know that's set in stone. That's not changing. There's no reason to believe that's going to be anybody but him. But there is the possibility that it's not going to be Kellen Mond as his backup. It could be Jake Browning if he keeps this up. And I think the ultimate test will be preseason. But I pose that question to you. How would you feel about that? If Jake Browning goes into week 1 of the regular season as the official quarterback 2 on the depth chart. I did not anticipate really talking about Jake Browning at any point this year, other than maybe during the team preview video, which will be out in the next month or two, just to talk about quarterback depth as a whole. So Sean Mannion is gone. Sean Mannion is gone, the lowly veteran that never really got to see much of any kind of in-game action because, thankfully, Kirk Cousins is not the type of quarterback who sustains injuries and misses a lot of time. Is he overdue for a scenario where that could likely happen? Yeah, sure. I think the odds are not, in his favor, if you will. But Sean Mannion is gone. We've talked about it all offseason. The Vikings had to do something to address quarterback depth and look towards the future. They did that in the draft with Kellen Mond. And they've kept on the 2 practice squad guys, Nate Stanley from Iowa, who was a 7th-round pick last year, and Jake Browning, who has been on the practice squad for, I believe, 2 years now. And he was an undrafted free agent out of Washington 2 or 3 years ago. I forget the exact year that he declared for the draft, but I believe it was 2 or 3 years. So he's been in the system for a while. He knows the team. He knows the dynamic. He knows Mike Zimmer. Could this be a situation similar to what we saw last year on defense and similar to this year on the offensive line, where the rookies are at a disadvantage given the fact that Mike Zimmer probably just doesn't like rookies at all, right? I mean, look at what he did this year. He went out and signed a ton of veterans for his defense. He learned his lesson. We've been talking about it all offseason, where last year he's like, I'm going to draft guys. It's okay that all these veterans walked away in free agency. I've got draft picks I can use. I'll bring in young guys, and I'll figure it out because I'm the defensive master. That didn't work. That absolutely did not work. Brings in this offseason veteran after veteran after veteran after veteran. And that seems to be the Vikings' MO, where the rookies don't really get a chance. And you kind of saw that last year with Jeff Gladney, was a first-round pick. And he didn't really start the first 2 games, if I remember correctly. I know for a fact he didn't start against Green Bay at Lambeau Field in week 1. And I think it took a couple games for him to get into the starting lineup because I was a little bit shocked on how a first-round pick was not ready. And I think we kind of all made the excuse like, well, pandemic year, shortened off season, everything had to be virtual. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. And that probably is honestly very true. That is definitely a fair critique of the situation. But look at this year with the offensive line as well. Your starting offensive line so far throughout, organized team activities and mandatory minicamp, O-line 1 has been Rashad Hill at left tackle, Dakota Dozier at right guard. Those are 2 places where we expect rookies this year to take over, with Christian Darrisaw at left tackle and Wyatt Davis at right guard. Similarly, we could sort of use that logic and that analysis and evidence and point at the quarterback 2 position and say, hey, this is the same thing that's going on. Mike Zimmer favors veterans. You have Jake Browning, who has been on the practice squad for a number of years, but he knows the system and he knows the team. He knows the players he's been around. Mike Zimmer doesn't like rookies, from what we can tell and gather. So maybe this is a situation where Jake Browning is given an opportunity and he's actually taking advantage of it. He's making the most out of the situation and making some noise for himself. So could we see a situation where Jake Browning is the opening day quarterback 2, backup quarterback, however you want to put it? Yeah, that scenario I think now is definitely reality. That is definitely something we could possibly see, and I don't know if anybody really expected it. So, do I expect Kellen Mond to eventually take over? Yes, I think Kellen Mond is the more athletic, the more finely tuned, pro ready, better skill set all around quarterback than Jake Browning, without a shadow of a doubt. Because there's a reason Kellen Mond was a third-round pick, and there's a reason that Jake Browning was an undrafted free agent who has been on the practice squad for 2 years. So, but long story short, we could be looking at a quarterback battle for the backup job. I think Nate Stanley is probably destined for the practice squad if he makes the team at all. And then Jake Browning and Kellen Mond will duke it out for quarterback 2, at least for now. Eventually, I do believe that Kellen Mond will take over as quarterback 2. I can't envision a scenario where Jake Browning is actually making a meaningful start in this league later in the year. And if that is the scenario, I think our season is basically doomed. So that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think about the situation and Jake Browning in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.